Okay, hi, it's Trevor Emden, and this is the Law of Attraction Maestro live coaching session. I'm recording this at the moment on my own. Hopefully someone's going to turn up, but whether people do or not, I'm going to talk because there'll be a recording, and hopefully someone will join in as we go on, and then we can take some questions and so on. But the topic for this session is self-awareness. Now, there is already in the members area a video about self-awareness, but what I really want to do is elaborate on that, because I want you to understand why self-awareness is something that I put so much store by, and why I think it's so important. Because in terms of the law of attraction, in fact, in terms of any kind of shaping your destiny or changing your circumstances, improving your luck, whatever way you want to phrase that, without self-awareness, nothing ain't gonna change. Nothing's gonna happen. So, I mean, my lovely little cat, for example, that's lived with us for more than 11 years now. I have no way of really knowing whether she knows she's a cat or not. What seems to be clear from her behavior is that she's aware of her needs. She's aware when she's hungry, when she's sleepy, which is most of the time, and perhaps when she has other instincts that come into play, like chasing things that move, including occasionally live mice, I suppose. But I don't have any evidence, and neither have I ever read or heard anything that suggests that animals have any sense of, I'm a cat, I wonder what I could do with my life, or I wonder what happens to us after we die, or why do I feel that way about mice? Or anything else. She doesn't have, as far as I can tell, and if there are any anthropologists or zoologists or anyone with an ology that ever watches this who understands these things better than I do, then perhaps they will correct me and tell me, actually, you know, there is some kind of self-awareness in animals, but I have never come across any such evidence, either in scientific literature or from personal experience of being around animals. So, hello, somebody's just arrived, I think. I'm not sure. I've got 0 viewers, and okay, so I'm going to write in the chat box. Oops, can't spell. Okay. Oh, hello. Yep. Hi. Okay, so can you write in the chat box, Jeff, if you can hear me and presumably see me, because I can see your conversation, but my screen is telling me I have 0 viewers. Right. I think this might be old conversation. Okay, I don't know why that's come up, but I'm going to keep talking. So what I was saying was about animal awareness, and as far as I'm concerned, animals don't seem to have self-awareness. Now, this is where oh, good. So you are there. Sorry, I'm interrupting myself. Okay, so if you're there, I will recap on what I've said so far. So I just want to check that you can actually hear me. Can you? I was very silly. I asked if you can hear me in writing and then stop talking. So can you hear me? I'm waiting for your reply. before I continue, because I need to know if I'm speaking. You heard a pop? Oh, okay. I don't know what to say really. My microphone is working fine. Is there something at your end? And I'll just keep babbling so that if you can hear me, you know that there's something to hear. But I'll just wait. I'll better type that to you in case you can't hear me saying that. I'll wait until you confirm. I'll try to keep saying something so that you know if sound starts working. So I'm talking about nothing in particular for the moment, just because it looks like we've got a glitch with the sound. So I need to know if you can hear me. You can obviously see me, and the conversation box is working fine. And my microphone, all the feedback I'm getting here is that everything's working perfectly well. I will just check all the settings. That's working. Play test sound. Yep, that's working as well. So everything appears to be working perfectly. It says it's working okay. Well, I'm talking so that you know there's something to hear. Testing, 1, 2, 3. It's all very strange. I have no idea why you can't hear me. Everything checks out fine here. I'm still talking. I'm waiting for your reply. Looks like we might have a time delay on the chat. Oh, I have no idea why that would be. Okay. Oops. This is ridiculous.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing, testing, testing. Jeff, try logging out of the Hangout and log back in. There's no reason why this shouldn't work. Testing, testing. Everything's working perfectly well here, but I have 0 viewers. This is just balmy. I don't understand it at all. There's nothing else to check. I just don't know what else to check. There's no reason why this wouldn't work. No, so the only thing I can do is that.
In there. That shouldn't make any difference whatsoever. I'm back. Can you hear me now? I need to expand this so I can't see the chat box. Okay, so can you hear me now? I've still got 0 viewers. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you? If you can hear me and see me, then we're in business. Can you hear me, Jeff? Oh. One, two, three, four. All right, I'm going to try. Okay. I don't know. Other than turning up your speakers. No. Okay, I'm going to try this, but I don't think it'll work. Camera, microphone. Right, okay, let's try this. That's the other one, so I know that one works. Okay, instantly I can see that works. And I'm unmuting the microphone. I've switched back and muted and unmuted the mic, all working perfectly here. Ugh. Right, well, we're going to have to do something else then, aren't we? Jeff, are you still there? I'm going to get the phone. I'm going to get the... Hello? Hello, Jeff. Well, at least this one's working. At least this is working. It's just ridiculous because everything at this end is, I can see lights coming on when I speak. I've tested the microphone. There's nothing else that I just cannot see that I've done anything wrong, and it all came up perfectly well. The only thing that's weird is that when you came up on the chat box, you don't come up as a viewer, because at the bottom of the Hangout it tells me how many viewers I've got, and it's telling me I've got 0. Sorry? Yeah, the chat box is working, but the chat box is, I don't know how it works, but it's a bolt-on, if you like, to the Hangout itself. So in theory, I could run the Hangout and not have that chat box. So I'm assuming that whatever registers with the chat box has worked, and whatever registers that you're on the Hangout has not worked. But you can see me, can you, on camera? Oh, so what can you see on the screen? Oh, okay. Right, that might give me a clue. I can't think what else that I can try, but just give me. I assumed you could see me, but not hear anything. Right, let me just try. It should be live. It does say it's live. This is just so weird. Live event settings. Let me just check that I've got all those right. Hangout, video size, chats live. Nothing else to really do here. I have it all set up right. Webinar ID. Well, I'll just click the update button because there is nothing else to do. So you no longer, when you logged in, did you go to the registration page and log in? Yeah. Yeah. So if you click on that now, what do you get? So I think I don't think well, I can try clicking on it, but I don't know what I'll get because I'm obviously broadcasting it. All right. Okay. No, welcome to. Okay. Yeah. Yep. A grayed out video. Grayed out. Yeah, I've got that as well. And then if you put your name and email in the box below, what happens? I was afraid that might happen. I don't know. Right. So, because I can see the grayed out box as well. Obviously, I wouldn't normally go to that page while I'm broadcasting it. Sorry? You can. Ah, hello. But you can't hear me through the microphone. Hello, hello, hello. I'm okay. Testing, testing. Yeah, okay. I'm obviously still speaking to you on the phone. Not through that. It still says I've got 0 viewers. What thingy? Well, let's see if this works first, and then I just have a kind of crazy idea. Yes, there you are. Ah, what did you do? Ah, so can you hear me? But definitely not on the computer. Wow. That is so weird. And you definitely haven't got a setting that says to mute your speakers or your headphone socket. Right. Okay. Well, look, I've no idea why. However, we now have a hybrid situation. If I stay on the phone and you stay on the phone, you said you can see me now, right? Okay, which means that I can talk to you, and although all of this jiggery pokery stuff has been recorded, when I get the recording, I'll try and edit it out because obviously neither of us are going to watch all of that again, eh? Yours or mine? Ah, okay. Okay. Right. Well, let's see how we go. Because, all right. So before you came online, because I wasn't sure whether you were coming or not. Okay. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to wave at the camera so that when I come to edit this, I know that that's the point where I need to start again. All right. Okay. So the topic that I wanted to cover this evening. Well, first of all, I should ask you: do you have an agenda that you want to bring up related to Law of Attraction Maestro? Okay. So, and have you? I'm not sure what day you're up to in the program. Have you seen video? I think it's 3. Yeah, on self-awareness. Okay. All right. All right. Because there's. Okay. So all right. So. because that's helpful information, because obviously if you've seen it, then you might have had some questions or comments around it. Okay, so so the next video that you will see is on self-awareness, and the reason that I put that in there is that I think that it's a very crucial topic and a crucial cornerstone of law of attraction, and I mean, I suppose I should qualify what I'm saying about law of attraction by saying, or what I mean by law of attraction, by saying that I think that the attraction of the law of attraction for people, for us, for anybody, is that it represents a potential shortcut to getting life the way we want it, right? If it works, then, you know, who doesn't want that? So so as long as we're on the same page about that, I think that's kind of important to say. So then what I want to say about self-awareness is that well, okay, let me try and recapitulate on what I'd started to say before you came online. I think the fact that we human beings can monitor our thoughts, we even judge ourselves. We judge our personalities. We judge our looks. We tell ourselves off. Occasionally, we might even praise ourselves, I suppose. And as far as I know, and I'm not a zoologist or an anthropologist, or I don't have any ologies at all, but as far as I know, no other species does this. No other species can do that. Okay, so our little cat that's been with us 11 years now, as far as I know, she lives and functions entirely on her instincts. She's obviously aware of her surroundings. She's aware of us. She's aware of when she's hungry. She's aware of when she's sleepy, which is most of the time apparently, or when she's dirty, and she's very good at preening herself. And, you know, other things that cats are aware of. That's obvious from observing her behavior. But there's no evidence that she ever self-reflects. So she never seems to have a moment where she goes, I wonder if I could be a better cat. Or, what, you know, I wonder what else could I do instead of chasing mice? Or do you see what I mean? So, as far as I know, we're the only species who can do this. Now, this is where Mr. Darwin and I start to cross wires or cross swords a bit. He's not here to defend himself, so I have the advantage. But I don't know why, if our only reason for existing is to survive and procreate, why we would need such a faculty. Because in some ways, it's quite a nuisance. It gets in the way of liking ourselves, for example. You know, I wish I hadn't done that. And we have all kinds of self-scoldings and things that, you know, to varying degrees. And I've worked, as you probably remember, in the field of mental health for many years. And I've seen people who can't function because they hate themselves so much, or, you know, they'll try and end their own lives and so on. So self-awareness can be quite a serious thing if it's about ourselves and we don't like the self that we live with. And in fact, are you aware of the work of Eckhart Tolle? I think I'm saying his name right. Okay. Okay. Well, just to remind you, he's I'm not sure. I think he's probably German or Austrian or something, from mid-Europe anyway. And I think he lives in the States, but I'm not sure. But Eckhart Tolle apparently suffered bouts of severe depression until he was 29. And shortly before his 30th birthday, as I remember the story he tells, he woke in the small hours of the morning and sat up in bed and thought, I just cannot live with myself anymore. And intended to get out of bed and take an overdose of something that would kill him and die. And, instead of doing that, he had another thought, which was, if I can't live with myself, then there's two of me. There's the I and the one that I can't live with. Exactly. And he then describes a kind of vortex kind of experience. He doesn't remember much until waking up in the morning and the birds were singing and the sun was shining and he felt fabulous. And that's never left him. And I don't know how old he is now. I think he's in his 50s. But he's become one of the most loved and famous spiritual teachers of modern times. And his the book that made him famous, and I recommend that you read it sometime, or at least dip into it. Some of it's quite difficult, but it's worth persevering with. It's called The Power of Now, and it's done as a question and answer session. I don't think it's actually a transcript of live sessions. I think he's taken questions that he's most commonly asked in his talks and turned them into a book. But it's very, very good. So he really discovered the power of now, but the power of self-awareness, and this fact that there are two of us. Now in the last session, which was about meditation, I talked about watching your thoughts, but I want to take that on one step further, because when we are self-aware, when we start to allow ourselves to monitor our own thoughts and reactions and so on, then you have a chance, I was going to say, but I think it's more than that. Then you're on the path to setting your life up in the way that you want it. And what the first step of that is that you need to catch yourself when you have a kind of a throwaway line that traps you or limits you. So I'm talking about things like when we say, oh, I just can't help it, or that's just the kind of person I am, or you know, well, I don't know, I'm a moody bugger sometimes, or all the kind of, sorry, exactly, all of that. And what I want you to start doing is to catch yourself in the act of doing that, and remember, the very least you have to remember is that you have a choice. And the word that you've seen me and heard me use, I'm sure many times before, is responsibility. But I spell it response, RESPONSE hyphen ability, not the conventional way, because it doesn't mean blame. It doesn't mean oh, you know, here I go. It doesn't mean give yourself a guilt trip. It means I have a choice about how I respond in this situation, in this moment. I don't have to do that. I don't have to be on autopilot all the time. So now, obviously, everyone's going to be different, and you know, with you personally, I know some of your issues, and I think you've mentioned before, you know, the one that seems to be the overarching one for you, as far as I know. Certainly by all means practice on that, but practice on lesser things. Just, I mean, obviously, you know, if you're making a cup of tea, you want that to be on autopilot. You don't want to have to think, oh, I don't have to switch the kettle on that way. That would be ridiculous. And we need it, but it's the fact that we can, choose. And also sometimes I think one of the points in life when it's worth picking ourselves up on that is when events conspire to throw us off, you know, out of our routines. So, you know, there's roadworks on your usual way. Well, you do a lot of driving, so I'm sure you come across a lot of roadworks. But, you know, you can't get there the usual route. So, you know, go another way. But it's how you react to that, you know, whether it, I don't know whether this is you personally, I'm not picking on you, but, you know, I'm just using that as an example. So if you find yourself reacting with a kind of, oh, grr, I'm going to be late and stressy, and that's the, sorry? Your son. Oh, right. Okay. You should get him on this course then. So that's the kind of time to remind yourself, I don't have to do that. Now, what I want to do is, well, first of all, let me pause at this point and just check that what I'm saying is making sense. Do you have any questions about it? Can you see where, you know, why this is important stuff? The generation game with the conveyor belt. Yeah. 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 Right. Well, okay. Okay, that's great. The next step in that process, you know, I'm going to say out loud what you just said because I can hear you, but the microphone in front of me can't. So what you're saying is that you watch your thoughts like a conveyor belt, and then and some of them you feel all right with, and some of them you let go. Is that right? So okay, so with that, with the watching your thoughts thing, the key tip I can give you is to pay very close attention to what your next thought will be, because what you will then discover is that the paying attention produces a space, it produces a gap, and then when you notice the gap, pay close attention to the gap. Okay, so, and I know we talked about that last time, but for this time, I want to take that on a bit further, because obviously when you're going about your I'm going to switch ears, my arm's going to sleep. When you're going about your daily life, you know, day-to-day business, most of us, and I expect you're no different, is not self-monitoring in this kind of a way. You couldn't; it would drive you crazy. So, so what I want to do, really, in a sense, is give you some tips and tools that. Oh, I'm getting told now I've got a low battery. I'm just going to plug the computer in. Some tips and tools that you you can use so that you can adjust as you go through life, right? So the simplest one I know, simplest and fastest and very effective one I know, is to change your body language. And I know I've talked about this before in other contexts as well, but it bears repeating because it works, frankly. So just to recap on why that works, every emotion that we have carries with it a body language. And I always think that the best way to view that is to look at cartoons. I think The Simpsons are brilliant at it, and also the old Peanuts cartoons were fantastic examples of this as well. Simple, I say simple, I can't do them, but simple line drawings of characters that don't even look like real human beings. I mean, Bart Simpson doesn't look like anybody we're ever likely to meet. And certainly, and some of them are not even human, like Snoopy the dog and so on. But you instantly can tell from the way the artist has drawn them what mood they're in. Even if you didn't hear the speech, if you just had a you know, a still image of Bart Simpson, you would know instantly what kind of mood he was in just from those few pen and ink drawings of, you know, his expression and maybe the way he's holding his body. So everyone understands that. Everyone understands that, yes, if I feel depressed, I'm going to look, you know, glum and probably look down at the floor more. And if I'm feeling elated and jubilant, I'm going to be punching the air and jumping up and down. But what people don't usually figure out is that that's a two-way street. You cannot feel depressed whilst you're looking up and jumping up and down and going, whoopee. You can't feel depressed in that moment. You can't feel depressed when you're thinking about things that you feel grateful for either. So we can do this with our body language or our thoughts. But I always think the easiest one, the fastest route in, is your body, because it's always available, and it doesn't really matter where you are. Even if you're driving your car, you can still square your shoulders, take a deep breath, put a smile on your face. You can even do subtler things like just notice if there's tension in the little muscles around your eyes or around your mouth, and just release it. That kind of thing. Now, that has a twin effect. First of all, you've shifted your awareness. Okay, so instead of dwelling on, the roadworks or whatever was bothering you, now you have, so, well, hang on a minute, what am I doing with my body? Now, this is another part of self-awareness that I think is remarkable. We are able to shift our awareness. If I suggest to you now that, that you could become aware of the tip of your nose, you actually can. I have no idea how we can do that, but we can. So, and now my tip of my nose is itchy. So first of all, if you think, well, what could I do differently with my body? Because if you're feeling a negative emotion, let's say it's uptight or anxious or angry or whatever it is, frustrated, in that as soon as you become aware of that, self-awareness, then you can say, what am I doing to sustain this? That's keeping this feeling going. Don't like the feeling, I could change it. So then you shift your body language, and I think, things like squaring your shoulders, putting a smile on your face, taking a deep breath are the easiest things to do, and you can pretty much do those anywhere. Even if you're in a meeting with the Queen, you could do that, and no one's going to think anything odd about it. So that's one thing. Now, what will happen is that for an instant, for a moment, there will be a shift in how you feel. Now, the trick then is to catch it, to catch that shift and say, okay, what difference did that make? And then follow it up. You can go further. You say, okay, well, yeah, but I still, the roadworks are still in my way, or I still feel frustrated or angry or whatever it is. What could I do now? Right? So now you're aware of, you can become aware of your thoughts. What thoughts are you having that keeps that going? And just listen to the inner monologue. I hate it when there's roadworks. And oh, okay. So that's what you listen to. Try changing the tone of voice. Make it a smooth, sexy, silky voice in your head, and just be playful with it. It can still say, "Grr, I hate it when there's roadworks," but it will not have the same effect. Totally, right? So this is where I blend, one of the ways I blend NLP, because this is NLP stuff, with law of attraction, because I think it's about self-mastery. And you're not going to attract the kind of situations or events or circumstances that you want into your life if you're running on autopilot, and autopilot is uptightness or just reacting unthinkingly or unawarely. I don't know if that's like a coin of word. Because and again, I know I've said this before, but this is the core of my message, really, in a sense, about law of attraction. The law of attraction doesn't bring you things just because you want them. It's not Santa Claus. The law of attraction works on who you are. It responds, it resonates according to the vibration you're giving out. Generally, sorry? Who you are and how you are, exactly. So how you show up in the world is going to massively make a difference to the results that you get. And even if you're a law of attraction skeptic, which I don't think you personally are, but even if you are, or somebody else is, then I think everyone would agree that someone that turns up at the meeting with a smile on their face, even if the journey's been hell to get there, is going to get a very different reception and reaction from somebody who blunders in cursing and swearing, right? So it just at a very physical day-to-day level, how we are, how we present, how we show up in the world is going to make a difference to the responses we get, the opportunities that open up for us, the friendships we have, the kind of the quality of our relationships. Everything is affected by that. So even at that very sort of the personal development level, this stuff's important. At the law of attraction level, then obviously we're talking in metaphysical terms, and I'm less certain of guaranteed results, but all I know is that living this way generally makes me feel better, and the results in my own life have been spectacular. And I think the other thing that is probably, having said that, I put that out there and then I get challenged about something. Well, are you always happy and that kind of thing? No, of course not. I have my down days and things go wrong, and there are roadworks in my life too. But I have more resources than most people I know, and more resources than I used to have, to be aware of it when I'm actually, oh, here I go, that's a pattern, and pull myself out of it. The other thing, I'm going to switch arms again. The other thing that you can do, and again, this is a very basic NLP technique, but it works, is to create an anchor. What's called an anchor. Now, you might not know what that is. You do. Okay. So, and again, it's something you can have with you at all times. So what I would suggest, for example, is that you spend a few minutes, not now, but spend a few minutes and bring up in your mind, in quiet minutes when you're on your own, and you can, I would sit rather than lie down, because lying down is very nice, but you tend to fall asleep. Just sit in a comfy chair and bring up a memory of a very good feeling, a feeling that you would like to be able to access at will. Now, I know NLP practitioners who have loads of these all over their body. So some people want to be able to access concentration very quickly and fun and I can't think of it off the top of my head, but so any state they like, really. So you can do that too. But for this purpose, I was just going to suggest that you do one. So the technique would be that you get comfortable, give yourself about 15 minutes, and bring to mind a memory of something that happened that had a very good feeling state attached to it. It might have been fun or joy or triumph or ecstasy or any feeling that you would like to have, instead of some negative feeling that you'd like to get rid of. Okay. And when you bring it up in your mind, this good feeling, then you want to observe, and again, this is self-awareness, you want to observe how you represent it in your mind. So do you see pictures? Are they moving or still? Are they black and white or color? Are they close up or far away? Are the colors, if there are colors, are they vivid? Is there sound? And if so, is it loud? Is it surround sound? Is it gentle? Is it sounds of nature? Is it music? What is it? That just find out what the elements are that produce that good feeling, and then try playing with them to see if it intensifies the feeling in any way. Is this making sense? So if the picture's in color, you might try making the colors brighter or more vivid, and just monitor in yourself, does that intensify the feeling? For some people it will, for some people it won't make any difference. And occasionally I've come across people that say it makes it worse, in which case turn it down again, don't want to make it worse. bring the pictures closer up. That sometimes intensifies the feeling. And again, play with volume and any other senses as well. Sometimes there are smells or touch, textures. Might be a warm, sunny day, feel the sunshine, those kind of things. But anything that that makes that experience as vivid as you can make it. And then when you've got, you know, on a scale 1 to 10, you want to crank it up to like a, you know, a 15. When you've got that as intense as you can get it, then what I do is just use the tip of my thumb and middle finger and just squeeze them together for about 3 seconds and then release. Okay, and then actually the best thing to do is to what's called break your state. So open your eyes again, look around the room, think about, you know, what's for dinner or something, and then do it again. And if you can, come up with another even more intense positive feeling state and add it to the same anchor, and do it about 3 times. So you've got 3, you're going to sort of blend them together like a recipe almost. All right. And when you've done that three times or so, then just check it. So then, you know, again, break your state, open your eyes, and then just do the anchor on its own. It won't be as intense as when you were thinking about it all, but it should just give you a little pleasant kind of, oh yeah, yeah, and then really over the next couple of days you need to reinforce that anchor, like, you know, 100 times a day. So, you know, and you can do it, you know, as you in idle moments of the day, when you're waiting for the kettle to boil, when you're in the bathroom, when you're, you know, waiting for a bus, whatever, waiting in traffic, I suppose. Just do it, because it creates a new neural pathway in your brain, so that once you've done that over a couple of days, then from then on, every time you fire that anchor, trigger that anchor, it will give you that little boost, as you say. So then whenever you have an off moment or whatever, then another thing, you can, as soon as you become aware, you go, oh, hang on a minute, and if you just do that, it will help to break up that pattern. It just helps to break it up. So does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Yes, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. We usually we're so conditioned into let's all worry. In fact, I was briefly engaged in a Facebook conversation yesterday that I didn't start, but which I endorsed heartily, with the guy saying, I've made a decision to stop watching the news. What does anybody think? I was like, yes, hooray. And about 50 people got on that conversation. And this idea, I mean, he even said it in the thing. So I know I won't be informed anymore. And it's like, why do we think that we need to be informed all the time? How is that helping? There are some things that, you know, I want to know who wins next year's general election. That kind of affects my life. And I will watch, you know, the electioneering as we get towards that time, because that may affect how I vote. But I can't see that I can really do much about terrorism, for example, or some, you know, if there's some disease affecting pregnant mothers or something, you know what. And so well, my question is, what's the point of us being informed about everything all of the time, when it is essentially a drip feed of negativity? So I mean, we've kind of drifted into a slightly broader area, really, but I think it's worth bringing it into this topic, because that's another way of self-monitoring, is what's my environment? Because what am I surrounding myself with? Because if the energy is negative, and that includes the people that we surround ourselves with as well. I know we don't have much choice about our families, and hopefully they're not too negative, but say that again, sorry. Well, if you can, yes, you can cut back on being around a negative family member if that's, and you probably can, but obviously if somebody's with someone or got small children or something, probably can't do that. Or sometimes people have dependent elderly parents and so on. Sorry? They could work on the way they allow that person to. Oh, okay. Yes. Then. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Is that a rhetorical question? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. How could I respond differently to someone that affects me negatively? One of the okay. One of the ways that that can be looked at, although I wouldn't present this in front of somebody without carefully building up to it, but if you're open to it, people that negatively affect us, well, anything that negatively affects us. The way I like to think about that is this. Imagine that you could go through life from birth to death with nothing ever negatively affecting you. How would that be? I think it would be terrible. You would never learn anything. You would never grow. Everything would be absolutely all right all of the time. There'd be no challenge. Exactly. Well, okay, let's stop calling it negative, because that's a label, right? It's just a thing. Like, I had a conversation with someone I've been working with recently, who's she's a businesswoman. She runs her own business, but she's struggling because she's got too much work and not enough funds, right? So, and she can't afford to take on staff. So we had a conversation about that, which led to a very revealing conversation about her attitude to money. And it seems that when she was younger, she was the poor girl around with rich families around, and the rich kids, her peer group, teased her horribly because she didn't have money. So she's grown up associating bad feelings with money. She thinks that people who have a lot of money are essentially not very nice people, and so she doesn't want to be one of them. And now she's gone into business, and so she's got a dilemma. Right now, my reason for bringing that up is because money isn't bad, money isn't good either. It's just neutral. It isn't anything. It's just a thing. Okay, so and the same kind of thing. I mean, I can't say that people who affect you negatively aren't anything. Obviously, they're people. But what we do know is that people who may affect you or me negatively go home to their wives or husbands or daughters or sons or mothers or fathers, whatever, who love them dearly, and they don't have that effect on them. So it can't be that the person is, in fact, excuse me, a negative influence per se. It's just that they push some buttons in me or you, right? Okay. So then it becomes clear, well, then I have to take responsibility. I have an ability to respond differently to that. So I have to own that. But the cornerstone of what I was going to say, the thing that you can potentially either put in front of yourself or put in front of another, if they're saying, oh, I can't stand so-and-so, is what are they teaching you? Because the only reason you're having a strong reaction to them isn't because of them. It's because of some button they're pushing in you, because, you know, they go home to their mum and that she doesn't have that strong reaction to them. So what is it about you? Right? And I think it's very interesting, this the way we perceive others. And I think an example of it, and a way that you can possibly lead into that concept, is to say, or to ask, have you ever had a friend who phoned you up very excited and said, hey, you've got to come out for a drink tomorrow night and meet this hot girl that I've just started dating. She's gorgeous, you'll love her, and you go and you think she's plain and she's boring. What the hell does he see in her? Right? Now, most people can relate to something like that. Like, well, I don't know. But he's devoted to her, crazy about her. Right? So it's not that she is intrinsically gorgeous and lovable, or not exactly. It's that she produces that reaction in him. And so everyone that's in our, that comes into our awareness, that word again, it has some effect on us, and vice versa, we on them. Okay. So, and again, there's law of attraction stuff going on here, because why are those people, if you're surrounded by people, I'm not saying you are, but if you were to be surrounded by people who were rubbing you up the wrong way, what are you doing to attract all of that? What kind of energy are you putting out? So there's, what's going on. The world is a feedback loop. It's responding to you. Life responds to you. So, but unless we can actually start taking some responsibility, that ability to respond, and say, right, I'm aware of that response in me now. What can I do about it? How can I shift it? Then nothing's really going to change. What people do instead, usually, is that they think that they will change it by changing their outward circumstances. So they dump people and start new relationships only to find they're in another abusive one. Or they keep changing jobs only to find that they are being used as the office dog's body over and over again. Or the boss promotes over their head over and over again. These patterns repeat in people's lives until they get the message, hang on a minute, I'm the only common denominator here. It has to be something I'm doing that makes that occur. So all of this blame game thing won't work. It won't work. Ultimately, it does. It is a hiding to absolutely nothing. It's not my fault. It's them. If you knew them, if you really knew what they were like, you wouldn't say that to me. If I could count the number of times people have said that to me, in either as clients or in workshops, yeah, but this person really is irritating. No, they're not. Sorry. Yeah. So it is tough. This is tough stuff for people, because who wants to take ownership of I'm causing the irritation, or I'm causing? But again, I say the distinction to make is it's not about blame. It's not about beating yourself up and having a good old guilt trip and a wallow. It's about saying I don't have to do that. I'm free. It's freeing. I'm free to choose a different response. What else could I do? I could laugh. I could find it funny. I don't mean laughing cruelly, but I could laugh at myself. Or I could just be kind. This person needs love and help and all the things that we all need, attention. How could I give that to them in a way that we can both get on and function? And what could I do differently? Somebody once said in a doctor, a psychiatrist actually, whose lecture I was attending at the time, he said, if you want to stop two people from playing tennis, you only have to stop one of them from hitting the ball. Sorry? Takes two to tango, yes, even on a tennis court. So I think here ended today's lesson, really. But I mean, that was the message that I wanted to get across. Is there anything you want to ask or say about any of that? Okay, well, okay. So in terms of doing something about it, because you say that, or words to that effect, quite often I hear you say that. I'm familiar with that pattern, so I'm being aware for you now. So what, you know, you've committed, you've committed to a lot of change. You want to do this. I know you do. So what is it that that might mean, oh well, yeah, I know I've got to do something, but because the subtext to what you said was, but I'll get, I'll put it on my list, but I'll get round to it. It's on the to-do list, as if it was almost like a minor chore, like I've got to wash the dishes, it felt like. Sorry? No, you're right, that's a big one. So what's that about? It does make total sense, and it's what a huge number of people do with personal development things. Understand it, but don't do it. So, okay, so the anchoring, the thing with your thumb and finger, that one. Okay, Jeff, you're not making a commitment to me. Yeah, no, but is it? Do you find it hard? And there's no shame in this if you do, because I do as well, and I think most people do. But do you find it hard to make commitments to yourself to make change? Okay, right. Okay. Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. No. Good. Right. Uh-huh. Yep. Mm-hmm. And well done. Congratulations. Hmm. Okay. Right. Okay. So well done for losing all the weight. The key question that I need to ask you about that story is what triggered you to finally say, I've got to do something about it, and then you have. So what, because you said you went on for like years, you said, I was saying, oh, well, playing what I call the when then game. When this circumstance changed, then I'll do something. When I've retired from driving instructing. So, but that never happened. So that didn't happen. But nevertheless, you did say enough's enough. Now, what caused that tipping point? But you've been feeling uncomfortable for a long time, you said. Mm. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so it was an accumulation of things. Okay, okay. So there was at some point a straw that broke the camel's back, kind of thing. Okay. So what will it take with the other things that you want to change in your life? How uncomfortable does it have to get for you to have that amount of leverage? Well, okay. Well, what I'm trying to okay. No, okay. Let me take you through a little process then, if I may. Okay. So so presumably when you signed up for this program, you had well, I say presumably, perhaps I shouldn't presume that. Let me ask you: are you clear in your mind about some or any of the goals that you want to achieve as a result of being on this, and maybe I don't know what other sort of personal development things you've got going on, but are you clear about the changes that you want for yourself? And you don't have to tell me what they are. I just need a yes or no, really. Right. So how will you know if this is effective or not? Okay, give me an example. What change you'll see? It's hard for me to imagine what that means. Chilled out in a more happy way. Give me a situation. Okay, so that's a kind of inner peace, I guess. All right. Yeah. Yeah. No, clearly, you're not involved with me for that kind of goal. Okay, so all right. Well, I mean, obviously, these are not very measurable goals, but okay. But let's. Well, are they measurable in the way that you could do? I'm not asking you to do this, but if you could imagine like a before and after video. So that's how it used to be, and this is how I know. Um, you know you get stuck in the roadworks now, and you go grrr, and then in the future you go, oh, it's all right. Are we able to measure it that way? Okay, well, that might be worth thinking about. And the question I would ask you to consider, and you don't have to give me an answer today. You don't have to give me an answer ever. It's not a test. But I mean, I'm not expecting an answer immediately. But the question that you might want to consider in that regard is, what is the least positive measurable change that would indicate to you that the tipping point's happened? Right? Does that make sense? The least possible measurable change. So, right. So, what I was going to do with you is to say to you, right, okay, so wherever you are now in your life, whatever age you are and so on, if you don't make these changes, which are, you seem to sort of know what they are, but they're a bit vague, but you know what they are. If these changes don't happen, and I'm doing this because you said, oh, you know, it's doing something about it that you know, it makes sense, but I understand it, but you know, that statement, right? So if you don't make these changes and 5 years goes by, so you're 5 years older, everyone you know is 5 years older, and I don't know what your situation would be in life in 5 years' time, but how do you think your life would be if in 5 years from now, so that'll be 2019, you've still not made any of these changes? What would that affect? How would that affect your sense of self-worth? Okay, so it wouldn't bother you. It wouldn't bother you. Yeah, it does make sense. But what it says to me is that, where's your motivation coming from? Because if you can live with if you've lived with yourself in this kind of a way since the 1980s, and it doesn't bother you if you go on living like this for the what sounds like the rest of your life. Sorry? Okay. Let me ask this question in a different way then. I know you've got a son. I don't know if you've got any other children. You've got grandchildren. Okay. Well, let's suppose that you're 93, you've reached the grand old age of 93, and that you've got not only grandchildren, but great-grandchildren. Can we imagine that? Oh, you're not big on children. All right. Well, you've had one. Okay. All right. Um, well, okay. I'm trying to think about who you influence. I'm trying to think about who you influence. Well, it's not really possible to go through life and not influence people, even if you don't do it consciously. And clearly, your pupils are amongst them, but they're not really connected with you in a meaningful enough way for me to do this. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Well, then, okay. You may not be big on children, but let me ask you about your kids. You've got 3 kids, right? And they're all grown-ups now, I take it. Okay. But 2 of them you don't see. Wow. Okay. Is that your choice? How do you feel about that? Hmm. Right. How old were they when you left? Okay. So you don't really know them then? Okay. And the son that you've mentioned a few times, is he from the same marriage or from your present marriage? So the son that you talk about is from this marriage. And how old is he? Okay, so he's a grown up as well. Okay, so let's talk about him then, because you obviously have a day-to-day relationship with him, right? Okay, and you've mentioned him a couple of times, and it sounds like you're having some issues with him as well. But does it matter to you how you are, or how he will remember you as a father? Okay. Do you think he's proud of you? Do you think he's proud of you? Okay. Are you proud of him? Okay. Great. Okay. So, okay, well, I'm going to slightly reframe the question I was going to ask you, but I'll still get there somehow. Okay, so basically, I was thinking when you're a very old man and in your rocking chair, 93, right? So I don't know what the age difference is between you and your son, but he'll be whatever age he is. Let's forget the grandchildren then, right? So, sorry. So if he said to you, "Look, Dad, before you're not here anymore, what's your wisdom? What do you want me to remember about you as a dad, and how you've lived your life? Do you want to say, in essence, listen, I've had a great time. I took some risks, I made some mistakes, sometimes it was a roller coaster, but basically I had fun, I followed every dream, I followed up every idea, I came a cropper a few times, but I won more than I lost as well." And or do you want to say, listen, you only get this go round once. Don't do what I did. All the things, or some of the things that I really, really wanted to do, I went, oh no, no, not really. And the opportunity's gone. They all passed me by. Which do you want to be your legacy? Right. Okay. How much does that matter to you? Or is it like you're leaving it to chance and it's like, oh, well, if I get there and he asks me that, it'll be, up to pot luck whether I was the one that had the fun or the. Sorry? It's up to you, exactly. So yeah, exactly. So it's about taking that responsibility now. It's taking otherwise, because that's why I was asking you about what's the leverage, what is going to make the tipping point between you going, oh well, that was another course I spent time and money on and it didn't really make any difference, or that was a course I spent time and money on and I took some action and now my life has changed. Well, the question is, and again, you don't have to answer me, and you might not know the answer to this consciously anyway, but somewhere something makes you buy these courses or investigate this stuff because you want something more, right? Now, we may not be able to label it, and we may not be able to put it in a box or a bottle or a bucket because it's not that tangible, but you have, and bringing this conversation kind of full circle, because I was saying right at the beginning about the throwaway lines that we tend to use, like, oh, well, I can't help, it's just the way I am. And you've said several times in this end of the conversation things like, oh, I'm not very big on kids, and I'm not very big on letters, and da da da. And I bet you say that kind of thing about yourself a lot. Okay. And those are the kind of patterns that I hear and I pick up. And so I'm saying to you, that's the kind of thing you can become self-aware of. You may not want to change any of that stuff. That's fine. You have that choice also. But those self-beliefs have led to considerably important consequences about how you are as a dad, how you are as a dad to the children that you're estranged from, and probably how you are as a husband as well, and how you regard yourself as a man in some ways. Now, I don't want to dig any deeper into that. I'll let you follow those pathways. But something is saying to you, I'm not satisfied with what I'm getting from life, or maybe what I put into life, but I'm not satisfied with life in some way. Now, on the face of it, you have the trimmings and the trappings. You have a good job. You have a wife. You have a family, and I presume you live in relative comfort. You've got a bed to sleep in, and food in the larder, and so on. So on the face of it, you're doing all right. Middle class guy in the 21st century. It's okay. But there's something much deeper inside you. And what concerns me, Jeff, is that you are a bit dismissive of that. You pay money and time to try and find it, and then you kind of go, oh, well, yeah, I'll get around to that, with the actual actions that you have to take. And I suspect it's because you believe it won't make any difference, because since the 80s, nothing much has. Well, there would, I may be wrong as well, and I'm more than willing to be wrong about that. But I think you might, after this call, you might want to just spend some time thinking about it. Because if I'm right, then the tree that I'm barking up is, well, if I do it and it doesn't work, how disappointed will I feel? So it's safer not to do it. What is? It's rocking the boat. In what way? But they love you, Jeff. Well, so if they love you, they look, aren't they going to support you growing, changing, being happy? Right. So it's not, it doesn't sound like you're doing things, you're not, well, I don't know what you're doing outside of this arena, but it doesn't sound like you're doing things that actually threaten the survival of the family unit. Things, as far as I know, to make yourself a more fulfilled, happier man. Right? Well, what wife and son wouldn't want to be around a happy, fulfilled man? See what I mean? So the only way that anyone would feel threatened by that is if they feel that you're going to leave them behind. Okay? So if that's happening, then my advice would be, and I guess we're talking more about your wife than your son, my advice would be to take her with you. But that doesn't mean take her with you necessarily and do this course, because she probably won't. But you take her with you on the upbeats. So when you start to take the actions that I'm suggesting that you take, right? Do the meditations and the the self-awareness stuff that I've taught time. As you start to do that and you start to notice the changes, then give her some of the benefit of that. You know, whether it means, I don't know, whisking her off her feet and taking her out for dinner or a dance, or I don't know what you do. It's a jackpot of some kind. You know, something that's pleasant but maybe a little out of character. I don't know, bring home a dozen roses or something. I don't know. But you know, it's like, and also, I mean, I know a lot of us British people, particularly British men, are not good at talking about our emotions, and you don't have to go into deep eulogizing, but you can just say, yeah, I feel good today. You know, here, you know, have some, I don't know what it would be, chocolate or flowers, or let's go out, or let's have a walk. I don't know. Yeah, so that you carry her along, so that she gets to enjoy it too. Because if you keep it all private, and this is something I do for myself, but when I'm with you, I'm the same as I've always been. What's the point? She's not getting anything out of it, and she doesn't get a better you. Does that make sense? So I think it does scare people close to us when we change, because they think they're going to be left behind. They're going to be left out. What if you don't love me anymore? What if you don't want me anymore? What if you don't like me anymore? Because you know, then you're not the person that I thought you were, not the man I married, or the man that I've been living with for however long it is. You're going to be somebody else. I don't want you to be somebody else. I want you to be you, because I know how to be me around you. See, it's threatening. So you have to carry her with you step by step. Sorry? I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah, you have to carry her with you. So share it. I don't mean you have to share, I mean, you can if you want, I don't mind. But I don't mean you have to share the content of the course, but just, you know, I don't know what time it is now, but you've spent, you know, an hour or so with me this evening, and hopefully it's been of some use. But well, you can perhaps paint the picture for me. Usually, when we've had time together or whatever, do you go and, you know, does your wife say, how was it, or do you not talk about it? Okay, good. Well, okay. What I think is important that you try and help her to understand is not necessarily the techniques or the ideas that I'm putting to you, but how you feel, because that's the bit that she feels threatened by, not the ideas. It's like, yeah, it does make me feel better, and that means I can be a better man around the house, or a better husband, or a better whatever, and a bit of reassurance, I think, because yeah, it can be threatening when people change. So I think that there's that issue, and I can see why that would also be a reason for you to hold back on putting some of these things into practice. Like, I don't want my wife to feel uncomfortable if I do this, but if I don't do it, then it's not nothing's gonna change. But then nothing's going to change in you either, and you want change in you. And there must be some level at which she's aware of that. You don't. Yes. Well, she has no control over that. She can't predict that. But she has no control over the direction of the change, and she can't predict that. But it does. That, and she probably at some level aware of that too. But that does mean it's scary for her, and she doesn't want you to be so out of control, not in a drunken way, but to be out of her control, that she doesn't know who you are anymore. So that's why you have to carry her with you, step by step. But she doesn't let go of the past, but she wants the future. Right. 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 Okay. Right. Mm, mm. Well, but you've already said in another context in this conversation that, and I know you're not saying that your wife rubs you up the wrong way, but that was the context that's came up in, if a person, that you could choose to react differently to that person, or a person could react differently to that person, and you can do the same with this. That your responsibility, your response to how your wife holds on to nostalgia in the past, and then feels frustrated about not having the kind of future that she thinks she wants, but then she has to let go of. I think that's what you're pointing at. The way you are around that is going to affect how she feels about stepping out of her comfort zone. Does that make sense? So your growth, they won't necessarily be parallel even, but your growth, it sounds like part of her own sense of security, I suppose, comes from watching you, which happens with a lot of couples. Right. Now, in that case, she is giving you responsibility in the other sense, the more common sense of the word, because what she's saying is, your wife, I want to change, but I'm too scared, so I'll do it vicariously through you. So you do it, please. Does that make sense? Okay. So, you obviously you can't change for her, but you can be the role model and be the inspiration. And then you'll have something good to say in your rocking chair when you're 93. You sound like what was she called, Mrs. Oh, Lady Astor, who that hated Churchill. Do you know that wonderful quote? And she said to him on one occasion, I don't know why they hated each other so much, but she said to him on one occasion, Mr. Churchill, if you were my husband, I'd put poison in your tea. And he said, Lady Astor, if I were your husband, I would drink it. Good old Winnie, yeah. So, yeah. Yes. So lots to think about there, Jeff. You're welcome. So, all right. Well, look. As I said, I'm not sure. I can't remember what date you joined the program. So, but I think the video on self-awareness comes up on day 14. So you must have passed that by now. And I can tell you now that the next one is more. Oh, you got them both. Oh, okay, right, fine. Oh, well, you're well in then, because number 4 is controversial stuff. I'm not going to tell you what that is yet. I'll leave you to watch that, and we'll talk about that next time. Yeah, but yeah, that's. Well, you'll hear me say I was a bit nervous even about making that one, but it's got to be done. It's got to be done. Got to talk about this. Oh, I know. Yeah, well, I know you are, but I don't know who else is going to try. You're not going to be the only one forever, I hope. So, but no, it has to be done. And I mean, you know, this is an advanced program. I set it up that way. Okay, I have to. It's only because it can tread on people's toes a bit. That's all. But it's all right. I'm happy with it. Exactly. Yeah. Well, I don't think I've broken any eggs really. I just think that. In order to move forward, we don't all have to be on the same page, but people at least have to know what page I'm on. Otherwise, you know, where we're going with it won't hold together. But look, what I do think is that, well, I mean, in a sense, you almost don't need me to say this, but I will. This is not going to make any difference unless you take some action. So I think that well, I don't know. I mean, hopefully I've you know, I've poked and prodded a bit this evening, and I hope that's I hope I haven't stirred up anything that's too uncomfortable. But I think it's important that that you look at, because those are the issues you need to be aware about. That's your self-awareness. It's like, why do I not follow through? And I think what we've uncovered here is you know, fear that it's going to rock the marital boat, and also I suspect that there's fear of, well, it won't make any difference anyway, because I've been like this since the 1980s. So and it's not me that's making the difference. I only can tell you where the buttons are to press, and if you don't press them, you'll be absolutely right, won't make any difference. But I do know where they are, and I mean, I know it from my own personal experience. You know, I'm the one in my life who changed my own life with self-help programs, and I'm one of the few people that I do know one other person, a personal friend, not a client, who'd already done it by the time we met, who seriously changed his life with personal development stuff. But an awful lot of people buy tons of personal development stuff and either never open it or read it or look at it, or they do and they go, oh, yeah, that's interesting. I think it was, again, Churchill, I think it was, who allegedly said many people stumble across opportunity, pick themselves up and dust themselves off as if nothing had happened. And that's the danger, you know. And well, and time's running out for us all, Jeff. Make the change. Don't wait till you're 93 and in your rocking chair. The anchoring, yeah. I would encourage you as well to take up from the last time, take up the meditation. Do 10 or 15 minutes a day in the mornings if you can. And I know that your mornings are probably rushed and so on, but I would no more start my day without 10 or 15 minutes meditation than I would start my day without brushing my teeth. It is, but I can tell you that, well, I can, the reluctance to create that habit, the meditation habit, is because the results are very subtle and very slow. You will not get an immediate, oh, I did that this morning and I feel fantastic. You might do, but you won't get that every day. But if I said to you, would you get up in the morning and just go out unshaved and unwashed and go to work? I'm assuming that you wouldn't. And so why would you go about your day with yesterday's muck still rolling around in your brain? Right? It's a shower for the mind. And it does bring peace. It does that being the chilled out chap that you kind of envisioned before. That's a major key. Major. And that's why I put it. Wasn't it video number 2? That's why I put it really early in the program, because it's key, and it's a minor change to routine, and I can't begin to describe that. I wouldn't be here talking to you if I didn't meditate. I couldn't. I would be too jittery. I would still have a day job. There are just so many things that I know that it affects, but I couldn't have told you that on day 1, or even probably at the end of month 1. Might have been able to by the end of 6 months or a year. But if I do go a day without doing it, and that happens sometimes, if I have to get up very early or there's some sort of rush on, I'm aware of it. I miss it. So that's fine. Yes. But are you talking about, when you say through the day, are you talking about when you're actually driving? During driving lessons? So you've got a pupil in the car? Yeah, no, I know, but don't you have to be teaching them? Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. I mean, that is better than not doing it at all. But I would still, I mean, because obviously you've only got half your mind. If I would say that you need to make it as serious a change as you did about changing your diet. That you don't dive into the baker's for a bun on a regular basis anymore, that you have healthy food that your wife makes you and so on. And incidentally, on that one, I would say if you do need to dive into a shop for a quick snack, dive into a grocer's and buy a banana or an apple. They're instant food. It's the fastest food you can possibly get, full of nutrition and cheap, and easy to carry in the car. And bananas come ready wrapped. Anyway, but yeah, I think you need to actually make it as radical a change as that. It's like, okay, I want to be different. I want my life to be different, and I'm going to build into my routine, my morning routine, that I'm going to take 15 minutes and sit quietly. I don't know what your house is like, but you need to find a space in your house where you won't be disturbed. No phones, no pets, no people bustling in and out, obviously. And And if it means getting up 15 minutes earlier, then get used to it. But I think that it needs, and to begin with, it's going to feel odd, it's going to feel awkward, you might even feel a bit embarrassed, and it looks to anybody else that sees you doing it, not that anybody else is going to watch you, but it looks like you're sitting doing nothing, which is precisely what you're doing. But to do absolutely nothing, I mean, not just physically, but inside your mind as well, is something that people spend lifetimes in Tibet trying to master. And I've actually discovered, and I didn't discover it, I was shown it, but found a way that you can get there in minutes. And in transcendental meditation, what you're transcending is thought, and this way takes you directly there. I learned transcendental meditation in the 80s, and I did it for years, but it never, or very rarely, got me to that place. But this one does, and it's watching the gap. And Eckhart Tolle, I mentioned before, his phrase is, watch your thoughts like a cat watches a mouse hole, with complete but kind of relaxed attention. And it's that paying close attention, pay really close attention to your thoughts. What am I thinking about? And as you watch, there'll be a long space. And when you become aware of that, and then you can just be aware of that space, that gap. So what does that feel like? And you'll discover it, and then and it'll come and go. It'll come and go. It doesn't stay there because your mind is too busy. But it's that practice that's the source of peace. That's the source of being chilled out, if you like. It's also the source of thought. It's the source of awareness. It's the source of yourself. Yes, absolutely. It all comes from there. What you're trying to do at the moment, say, well, I'll try little bits and pieces of this, and it's like trying to do a marathon with one leg tied up behind your back. I've tried to put this together in a way that actually there is some method in my madness. There is there is sequence. So, and it's not that one thing won't work without the other. Of course it will. They all work. But I put it together because I discovered for myself that blending law of attraction, the metaphysical stuff, and the spiritual stuff with NLP made huge and powerful differences. And what you're doing is kind of cherry picking. Oh, I'll try that bit. Which I can't stop you from doing. I don't want to, but I'm just pointing that out. If you want big changes, then I would suggest you try and use it as a whole. So maybe go back and watch at least video 2 again before you career forward into video 4, because our next session is not going to be for a couple of weeks, so you've got time. Is that a problem? Yeah. Well, I put the one in between because you didn't show up for the first one. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Thank you for that. Yeah. Jeff.Burden. Yeah, no, sorry. I wasn't sure of your email address, and I just picked it up from the PayPal. Yeah. That's fine. Okay, well, again, I'm really sorry about the technology tonight. I don't know why you can't hear me, because right, are you working on a Windows PC? Right, well, just check in the control panel what it says about settings for sound, because it's absolutely working perfectly here. Well, the microphone's obviously input. Have you got, you haven't got the headset plugged into input by any chance, have you? Oh, it's USB. Right, I have no way of knowing, but Yeah. Well, I mean, because now, and for the last however long we've been online, as I'm speaking, I can see the green lights flashing on the screen to tell me that the sound is being picked up by the microphone. So I know that's working. I can see that I've got an indicator that I'm live on air, and I can see you as one viewer on the screen. So everything is working as it should at this end. Just don't know what it is. Well, the other thing that I realized is, because in some ways I'm actually glad that we've been able to do it this way, because if we do it entirely by that kind of a hangout, you can't speak to me. You can only type to me. Now, there is another type of hangout. Yeah, I can't hear you. I can't unmute you, I don't think, on this. So I only realized that. No, I don't know. I don't think there's a way. I will check that, but I don't think on this setup there's a way of unmuting participants, because you can imagine if you had like 50 people, it would be chaos. But there is another type of hangout called video hangouts, which I can't use the same registration pages for those, but then we can both be, or as and when there are other members, we can all be online at the same time, and we can see and hear each other, and that gets recorded as well. So that I might try and use that next time. I just don't have it, but I mean the registration pages. Oh, that's fine. No, that's fine. You just get a little avatar shape, I think, comes up. But at least it means we can have like a group conversation, which is better actually. So I'll look into that before next time. It just means I can't use the same registration page. Yeah, I will do, but I have used this several times before with different groups, and it's worked fine. And as I say, every indicator that I've got here, I actually know the first time that we tried this, I know what I did wrong. I actually in setting it up, I pushed a button that said make this a private hangout, and to this day I still don't know what that actually means. But that was why, and when I made it public, I was it came back. But this everything checks out, and I was set up and waiting for you by 7:15, and I checked everything. I was waiting for you to log in, you see. But all right, okay, well, sorry. Oh. Does it? Obviously, I'm never on that end of it, but yeah, no, I know that, and that's called the registration page. And then what I have to do when I'm going live is I go into the back end of that, as it were, and click on live, make it live, and that should change the page at your end, so that so then it doesn't. Let me see if I can see. I don't know if I can see it myself. Let me see what happens. But the gray screen will be there until I actually click start broadcast on the Google Hangout, which obviously I didn't do until I had everything set up. But I did change it to the live page. So I don't know. I'm going to try and refresh that, see what I can see. Yeah, no, I'm still getting the grey screen, so I don't know. Well, I don't know if I can see it myself. Obviously, I can't be on both ends of it at the same time. Actually, yeah, what I could do is when my wife's home, I'll get her to be the recipient so she can test it. But anyway, as far as I can see, I have absolutely. Well, if that's the case, then if we do a video hangout, we'll have the same. It'll be worse because the video will be the only way we can talk to each other. So you will need a microphone. Your computer presumably has a microphone. Yeah. Okay. Fine. No, me neither. All right. Well, I've got another broadcast to do later in this week, which is. No, you haven't really. Well, you say that if you play a video or something on the computer, you can see and hear it all right. Right. I don't know, Jeff. I really don't know. Hmm. If you know anybody, you can ask because who understands computers a bit. Because as far as I can see, I am broadcasting and sound and vision. Well, that won't work if we're trying to have a two-way conversation. Well, yeah, but you'd be in the group. Exactly. Well, we don't want that situation. I suspect there is some setting somewhere on your computer that neither of us are aware of that just needs it's a flick of a switch somewhere. Right, that's the way to test it. Yeah. 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 Get your wife or your son to be at the other end. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can start a Hangout yourself. Do you know that? Okay. Do you have a Google account? Okay. If you have a Google account, then you have a Google Plus account. And if you go into Google Plus, over on the top left of the screen, you'll see like a button that says Home. And if you mouse over it, I think you might have to click on it as well. A big drop-down menu will appear, and about halfway down it says Hangouts. And if you click on that, it'll ask you if you want to start a Hangout. You don't have to have anybody on it. You can just talk to yourself. But if you can invite people, and you can invite them by email. So if your wife or son is at the other end, you just put in their email address. It gives you a little box that says invite people and put in their email address, and then they will be able to pick it up at the other end. You might be able to test it that way, but yeah, two computers is the way. But ideally, if you know somebody who speaks computerese, because I just can't figure that one out. Yeah, because I have a feeling that if we'd gone onto Skype, you would have had the same problem, because I think that's a setting on your computer about picking up sound from an external source somewhere. Anyway, right, can't solve that one tonight, but we've done a lot of other stuff. All right, then. So I'll catch you in a fortnight then. All right, take care. Bye, Jeff.